Trying to see if I'm centered. Hi. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you've never been here before. Today we are going to be talking about a couple of different, I guess they're all confirmed horror TV shows that are coming out. So I originally just wanted to talk about the concept in general because I have just heard and seen so many things of newer classic horror movies getting a TV show adaptation for streaming. So I wanted to talk about that in general and then expand on the specific ones I'm interested in. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about is the Crystal Lake A24 TV show. This is supposed to be streaming on Peacock. I talked about this in my 2022 movie update or whatever. I think this was 2022 when this was first announced. So this has been something that's been in the works for a super long time. And it looks like there's still no update on the release date, anything specific on the release date, but I did see that there was some sort of rumor that A24 basically pulled the plug on this show and that it's canceled. And the more I read into it, it turns out that is not true and that it is still in development, still in the works, and A24 is still the production company behind this project. So don't know where that first little bit of information came about, but the more I read into it, the more I saw that that is not true. I guess the only real update on that is that they're just doing some rewrites, some reworking. I don't really know for what specifically. I know the main concept was for it to take place and it be a little bit more of an origin story about Jason's mom. So we'll see if that's still gonna be the plot. Them saying that they're gonna rework it makes me think maybe they wanted to rewrite it a certain way. I don't know. But I do think that they want to keep that plot though of it being about Jason's mom. So if we ever get an update or a release date about that, just know we'll keep you updated. Friday the 13th is a franchise very much well loved on this channel. I'm still working my way through all the movies, so hopefully they release it once I'm done with that journey. Okay, next, this might be a controversial one. I don't really know how people would feel about this, but it was confirmed that there's going to be an Alien TV show, the movie Alien. Now, there is a new Alien movie coming out later this year, Alien Romulus. I've only seen the first two Aliens, so I can't give a very rundown, detailed idea about the Alien universe. I've only seen the first two, but apparently this Alien TV show, I've read two different things about the plot of this. One of them is saying that it's gonna be taking place 30 years before the first Alien movie. And then another thing that says, which this might still, two things can both be true. These might both be true. Like I said, I'm not very well versed in the Alien franchise, but the same article earlier on says it'll be set on Earth around 70 years in the future from now. So 2100. So I'm not sure if even the first Alien was taking place that far into the future. I have no idea. I really don't. So sorry I can't help you out with that. But anyways, this was announced by Disney, so I'm guessing this would go on Hulu because Disney and Hulu are combined. So this was announced by Disney, I think back in 2020. And this TV show was originally pitched as another Alien movie, and then I guess they just later wanted to develop it into a TV show instead. I think their goal or the hope, I'm guessing they already had the idea for Alien Romulus. They already filmed it maybe. And I guess their mindset was, let's release Alien Romulus to like re-hype people up about the Alien movies, and then we'll introduce this TV show. So if that works for any of you guys, then it works. Obviously, they know what they're doing. But to me personally, I'm not the biggest Alien fan, the Alien movies fan. I do like the concept. The movies were just a little slow for me, but that's neither here nor there. And there's no release date on this as well. It might be next year, but I said that about the Crystal Lake show, about it being out in 2023, and we're here in 2024 and still no update. So what do I know? Okay, next is, which I don't really know how I feel about this one. I think my feelings might be a little more negative than positive, but the next update is The Conjuring is getting a TV show. Now, there are so many things in the Conjuring universe. We have the Conjuring movies, which I think there's like 3, The Nun, Annabelle, La Llorona. There's so many. And to me, I just don't really understand why there is so many. I think, is The Nun even part of it? I don't know. They make it really confusing with the same actor being in all these movies. Like, they really should not do that. I don't know whose idea that was. But anyways, there's just a lot of movies in this universe. To me, I personally really liked the first Conjuring. Second one's pretty good too, but the first one is like a classic. The Conjuring is a classic movie, right? And it is scary. That was one of the first movies that really genuinely scared me when I was a kid. Now, I just feel like they're just really stretching it out and throwing like spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. It just doesn't make any sense to me why they can't come up with like a different idea. Like, this universe, no offense if you're a fan of this universe, it's not like that interesting, honestly. I think this is where a little bit of what I wanted to talk about with the new thing was always like, this thing's getting a sequel, this thing's getting a remake, this is like, that was always like a thing just in general, but it was happening a lot in horror as well, in the horror genre. And the new thing now is just, let's make a TV show about it. And part of me likes the idea of expanding a universe into a TV show because it gives you more time to explore the universe, explore just the franchise, I guess, but only if the phenomenon in the movie, the original movie, like makes sense. So for The Conjuring, I feel like it doesn't make sense to really expand on this because there's not really like so much to really dig into, and they're gonna make the movies anyways. Like, I bet they're gonna make this TV show and still have Conjuring movies coming out as well. Like, we just got a second Nun movie. I think there's another Conjuring movie coming out later this year too. It's like every year they're like pooping these out. So I'm like, hey, what's the point of having a TV show then if you're just gonna poop out these movies every year? I mean, obviously, you know, money is the answer. When we have this conversation, we're not thinking about the money aspect. We're thinking about like the logic, human aspect of it, with money outside of the question, because it just genuinely does not make sense to have a Conjuring TV show. Like, there's so many movies already out and still coming out. What's the point of expanding the universe? Like, this is what I mean, where I'm like, only if it like really makes sense, you know? So for example, the Chucky TV show, which again, another TV show, right? But that came out like 2 years ago. So they're on season 3 right now of Chucky. And I think with Chucky, it made sense for a little bit. It wasn't a prequel or anything, but they did have an episode really going into Chucky's past, his growing up, basically why he is the way he is, or like how he became the way he is. And it was just kind of going more into like that lore. I mean, now it's kind of off the walls, but I am a little bit of a Chucky apologist, so don't take my opinion into consideration. But I'm just saying, like, with the Chucky thing, like, at least they're having fun. I guess the only difference is, one, it's like the original creator has to be involved in some way to have some sort of continuity. So I think that's something that the Chucky show has a benefit of, and it's horror comedy. It's very funny as well. So I feel like it doesn't take itself too seriously. They make jokes about it, about the past movies, about everything, all the freaking time in that Chucky TV show. So I think there just needs to be some level of awareness. I feel like if these shows are taking themselves too seriously, it's gonna be cringy. You know what I mean? Which is always the fear for announcements about things like this, about sequels, prequels, TV shows, anything like that. You just don't want it to be bad, especially if you're a fan of these franchises. So Conjuring, I'm not really a fan of. Don't think I'll watch that show, but I did find it interesting that they were developing this, so I figured I'd talk about it. Speaking of another show that I don't think needs to be green lit is the Halloween TV show. So I was reading more into this, and this might be controversial, but I'm a newer Halloween fan. So the David Gordon Green ones, those are the ones I like. The original, not so much. No. I like the trilogy that came out. I mean, I haven't watched the last one. We're waiting for this Halloween Ends. But the problem with this show that's just been announced, it was announced by Miramax, I believe. And it had a little bit of a bidding war with A24 as well, but Miramax won. So unfortunately, I feel like if it was A24, it would have been a lot better. I don't know. I mean, again, we'll see. There's no really release date about this one as well. But for Halloween, this show specifically, they're following it directly after spinning off of the John Carpenter 1978 original Halloween, which I'm not the biggest fan of. So my feelings are a little bit mixed. I would be interested still to see what they do with this, because I think like the Halloween franchise really likes to overcomplicate themselves with all of there's, I don't even know, like 7 Halloween movies after the first one or something like that. And then they did the recent trilogy of Halloween, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, that ignore all of those sequels, and they just do it directly off of, like, it's a direct sequel from the original 78. And then they want to have this TV show where they ignore that trilogy that literally just ended like 2 years ago. It's like, what are we doing here? What is the point? Like, why are you over complicating things? It's times like these that really frustrate me, where people can't just like come up with something new in their heads. It's like, we don't need a Halloween TV show. Now, again, I might be a little biased because the original Halloween's not my favorite, and this article purposely said that they were ignoring the trilogy, the newer ones that I actually did like. So that's a little iffy. I'm a little iffy on that one. But I feel like on top of that, Halloween is not something that needs more explanation, I guess. It would be kind of nice to get a little more backstory on Michael Myers specifically, and I don't really think anything really does it. I mean, if we're just going, let's say we're watching this, the only Halloween movie we've ever seen is the first one. Like, is this TV series going to expand on Michael Myers' past? We're gonna hear him talk, you know what I mean? Like, what is the goal here? Because I'm like 90% sure, that's what this article says, that it's going to take place after the original. So it's like, what's the point of it? It's just random killing. It's not even going to explain his motive. It's not even going to explain him or his hatred for Halloween or Laurie Strode or whatever. Because I know they did a little bit of that in Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2, right? But I guess if we're ignoring all that, doesn't matter. I just don't think it's necessary. I think a lot of people really like the horror icons, the villains, whatever you want to call them. I think they like the randomness of it, that there is no like real reason why he's doing all this stuff. He's just a crazy guy and he just is killing people. There's no really rhyme or reason, and I think people really like that. So why fix something that isn't broken? You know what I mean? So that's something that I'm feeling very iffy about. I think I will tune into it, especially if it's still centered around Halloween time, because I do love Halloween. Like I said, my opinions can be a little biased, so take all this with a grain of salt. But if this is taking place still around Halloween, I will be watching. Okay, so this next one is one I'm not really going to give my opinion about because I haven't seen this original movie, but I thought it would be something interesting because I I heard an interesting fact about this. So, there's going to be a Hostel TV show, but the thing that really sold me is that Paul Giamatti is going to be in it. He closed the deal, he sealed the deal, he's going to be a part of this TV show. And I really liked him. I watched The Holdovers a couple months ago, and I loved that movie. He's also just a great actor. So I'm really excited to see. This might be on Apple TV. I'm not too sure, but that's just speculation. I'm just speculating that it's gonna be on Apple TV. Yeah, like this article says, it doesn't have a platform attached to it right now, but it is being described as a modern adaptation and an elevated thriller that's also a reinvention, so many buzzwords, right, of the original 2006 Hostel. I think this is also incorporating Hostel too. So, like I said, I haven't seen the first Hostel, so I'm not going to be talking too much about it. I had my first introduction to Eli Roth with Cabin Fever, and I just watched that, so check that out if you haven't seen it. So, I have mixed feelings about this man because I wasn't the biggest fan of Cabin Fever. I feel like it was all over the place, but that was also 2002, and this is 2024, right? This is 22 years later. I'm guessing things have changed, right? Like, I don't know, because Hostel was just 2006, you know, freaking 4 years after Cabin Fever. So I'm like, is the stylization of this movie gonna be the same? Because if it is, I don't know if I'm going to like it. I still liked Cabin Fever to a certain extent, but it was really just like every trope you can have was thrown in there, and it was just super random. They didn't really stick to a certain theme. So many like one-off scenes that had nothing to do with the plot. It was a lot. So very weird. Let's see. I don't know. I'll definitely watch Hostel on my channel eventually, one day in my life, but today is not going to be that day. Let's just say maybe when we get more developments about this Hostel TV series, then I'll watch the original and we can kind of just refresh our memories and, or I guess refresh your memory if you've seen it, and then just experience it for the first time in my case. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to be talking about is an It prequel TV show. Now, this is going to be called Welcome to Derry, and thankfully, this is going to be developed by Andy Muschietti, I think is how you pronounce his name. But he is the one that did the original It and It Chapter 2, which are fantastic movies. It, the first one, and from 2017, is one of my favorite movies of all time. It is so good in every single way. So this TV show is going to be centered around Pennywise, which Bill Skarsgård is going to reprise his role as Pennywise. And the premise of this is going to follow him, backstory, I guess. So it's going to be taking place before the It that came out in 2017. So that took place in like the 70s. I think this one's supposed to be the 60s, and it's supposed to be released next year. Who knows though? The fact that they even have a cast, and also it's going to be produced by HBO, I think that is a positive thing to actually show. Maybe we are getting some headway on this. So this is an example where I'm like, I feel like a TV show for this would make sense, right? Because Pennywise is like a sentient, like always living, can never die, weird kind of alien clown thing that needs explanation, I feel like. So to me, a show explaining that makes sense, right? Because I feel like there's so many questions and so much lore attached to Pennywise that it would make sense to explain that, especially if you're a fan of this franchise, which I am. I'm obsessed with this. So this is like one of the one times I'm going to be an apologist for this. It's going to be Chucky. It's going to be It. Those are the things I'm going to be an apologist for. I'm going to be very biased for because I do love those franchises. I think this one, I will definitely be watching this. I will be a little like, I don't know, like I don't want to get my hopes up too high because like I said with the TV shows, you just never know. Sometimes it can be really like hit or miss. If I'm gonna be honest, I feel like this is gonna be good, especially if it's gonna be with that same director. I feel like it's gonna be good. Like he just has a way with the setting, like the 70s setting that he had. It was just so perfect for me. So I love this timepiece. I like when they go back. I'm not the biggest fan when they continue it off. Like in Chucky, I kind of liked it, but also didn't at the same time. Like I like the Chucky show, but it was kind of weird that they just continued his story in a TV show. So, which there also might be another Chucky movie. I'm like, are we gonna still have the TV show as well? See, I like Chucky so much, but even me, I was like, why are we continuing this? You know, it was kind of odd to me. You know, after the second season, I was like, we don't need any more of this. And there's a third season, which just ended. Those are all of the horror TV shows that I'm personally excited about or just sparked some sort of intrigue in my mind, good and or bad. I'm very interested to hear your guys' opinion about this, about the specific shows I talked about, or even just about the concept in general, because I know the old thing was, let's just make a sequel after everything, bam, 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 make a movie length, right? A movie length, you know, revamp of this. But now that it's, let's do a TV show. I mean, I remember there was a Scream TV show as well, and I feel like it wasn't even that long after the Scream movies came out. Like the last Scream 4 came out in like 2000 and something at that point. And I remember the TV show was on MTV, so, which I've never seen. Let me know how that is. I might tune into that just because I'm kind of curious. Let me know what you guys think about this concept in general. I want to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons and especially Mark Sylvester and James Cox. Thank you so much, and make sure to go ahead and check out my Patreon if you haven't already. Okay, well, thank you guys for coming along with me on this journey. Please make sure to stay tuned for any updates on any of these interesting developments. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all of that jazz, and as always, thanks for watching.